Anyway, so I'm sorry about this. I did not know this.
Is that all for your website then?
No, I think it's for the.
It's for a local
I'm
news.
Hannah White, and I'm a singer-songwriter from London.
And we're currently at the Harrogate Homeless Project, right in the centre of Harrogate. And I know you're supporting the Homeless Project. What sort of led you to support, any homeless project, let alone the Harrogate one?
Well, this is something that was put to me, but it's something that's very close to my heart. So instantly, when this was mentioned, there was a pang. Because of personal experience. When I was, many years ago, when I was a lot younger, I'd had my son and I'd been through a difficult relationship. Anyway, we split up. I split up with his father, and I was working at the time, and my son was in a nursery placement, so there were certain things that were stable in my life. But anyway, I couldn't keep up with rent payments, so cumulatively I was owing rent. And just didn't have a support network around me. And anyway, I was served a Section 21 notice and ended up homeless. And so moved into emergency accommodation. So it's a pretty traumatic time because you're alone and
So where did that take you? That was obviously like a low point for you. But things are very different for you now.
Yeah, I mean it's a really difficult. It's actually not really a time that I sort of spend a lot of time thinking about, just because it was really difficult. But it's so complex, it's so complicated, and it's there are lots of like not having support networks, not having people or places to turn to, and also a system that didn't really at the time. And this was years ago, and I don't know so much about how the system is now and whether it's changed, but I know that walking around this place has been really, I've been in tears already, because it's seeing what is provided and how it's provided is amazing. And I just think, just treating people like human beings with circumstances, because it is just circumstances, we're all quite close to it. So I was in this situation. I've been lucky enough to have music in my life, and I feel like music's brought people to me and places to me, and it's something I turn to personally. So it's just something very a personal relationship that gives me a bit of resilience, I guess.
And you were mentioning that your music is kind of what brought you here. You were performing somewhere else, and you were noticed, weren't you? You mentioned kind of one particular song.
I was performing, not so far away from here, I don't think, York, Barbican, and one of the trustees of this charity, after the performance, came and saw me, because I'd written a song about, during a time when I was homeless and in a hostel. What had happened was I was in a hostel for homeless families, and it wasn't a very nice place. There's like shared facilities, shared bathrooms, kitchen, whatever, and we had our own room. In my son, there's times when he was like sick and just having to get to the bathroom for him in the middle of the night, and it's like these just really cold corridors and having to wait for bathrooms. And I remember one time being in the bathroom with him, and then all these sirens going off, and like police are coming in looking for someone, and it's a highly stressful environment. I found it very stressful. There was another B&B we stayed at, and the woman gave me a special knock, because she was like, definitely you're just going to have people knocking on your door and you don't answer the door. So just to arrive and have that induction was just like frightening. And I was still trying to hold down my job and still trying to hold down the stable things, my son's nursery placement or whatever. But anyway, one time I'd washed our clothes, and there was a shared space to hang your clothes up to dry. And anyway, I took my son out to the park. Thought, we'll go out. You don't want to hang out at the hostel. Come back. And when I came back, the clothes had been stolen. And just being skint, and it's just like making choices. I made some bad choices. Anyway, I went out and I was, I'd got arrested for shoplifting. And then I was with my son when I was arrested, and the police said, right, you need to call someone to come and take your son, and I didn't have anyone to call.
Yeah.
And I think they thought I was being obnoxious or whatever, but it's just that's the situation I was in.
So then today, obviously, things are really different for you.
Yeah, and that takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of, and it's been slow, and I think the biggest change is in yourself, but you can't expect people to change when like it's not as simple as homelessness isn't as simple as just not having a place to live or not having money. It really isn't. There are so many things, and if you haven't got systems and support and people in place, then there's no way out. It's a big hole, and you need a lifeline. Can only really help if you've got some of those things in place.
Yeah.
So it's not like a charity can come along and offer a place for someone to live, and it's like box tick, problem solved. That isn't.
And that I know is very much how the Harrogate Homeless Project works, isn't it? It's not, that if you don't have somewhere to stay, they will provide you somewhere to stay.
Yeah.
But they don't want you back there in 2 months' time, 3 months' time. It's they want to move you up that rope that you mentioned.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just seeing that there's like support, medical support, and mental health support, and support with work, skills, confidence, friendship groups, even how to be around the right people, how to be if you've never had loving relationships role model to you, and you've only had like violence around you, it's not as simple as moving into circles where those things don't exist is really hard, really hard.
And I think there's generally a misunderstanding of things like use of food banks, or what people use, a homeless sort of shelter. And I think people have these images, and it's not really the reality. I hear talk of people going to food banks and they turn up in their Range Rovers.
Yeah.
Which is perhaps another question entirely. But the point is, I think people, I think they've set ideas. So they don't go there thinking, understanding maybe enough of why people become homeless.
Yeah.
Would you kind of agree with that? What do you think people need to know about homelessness in this country?
I think homelessness happens not because people don't have homes. I think homelessness that is obviously a part of it, and we're in a financial crisis. But I think homelessness really does happen because people don't have social services. And if families don't have support, bringing up a family is really hard and high pressure. If you're struggling for food and struggling to pay basic bills, then you're going to make you're going to make desperate decisions because you're in a desperate situation, and they're rarely good ones. I think people need to understand that, there's a lot of mental health support that needs to happen. Youth support. There are young people growing up with learning difficulties or learning disabilities, and they don't have the understanding, and there are massive pressures. And with social media, it's even worse. And there's a lot of anger out there, and there's it's difficult to find a place to turn to when there's a lot of judgment and a lot of preconceived ideas, and and even when your support services and systems aren't really equipped with the understanding, then it's not a support at all. It's another stick to be beaten with, and it's another sense of failure that the person walks away with. So I think people need to understand that kindness goes a long way, and basic services go a long way. Yeah.
Hannah, thank you very much.
Yeah.
That's been great.
Yeah.